We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Lynn Heady's with us. She's with Better Angels. If you're just joining us, that's an organization that's working, I think, as best as they can to try to get things a little more civilized these days. Political polarization is so intense, and how they do that with some of these workshops and the like. We have someone who waited through the break that has a question for you, I think. Lynn, let's take it from Andy. Andy, good morning. Hi, Andy.
No, I'm
Cindy. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was Cindy. Go ahead, Cindy. I'm sorry. I misheard. Go ahead, Cindy.
Well, see, I agree with her that I go with both sides. I try not to start trouble. But there's got to be some things done besides just guns, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, for instance, I got a neighbor who put in a big honking pool. It is so huge. And for the last 5 years that I've owned this house, every bit of my grass gets killed because for some odd reason he keeps draining. And when it does, it only stays in my backyard. It kills everything and ruined the shed. Okay. So I'm going to have to go meet with the committee to have something done because there is no laws about that. But at least people, give other people respect. Do proper drainage and other things. But the city's got to get in on this to help to put a stop to these kind of problems to where it'll escalate. And boy, that's when it escalates any further. Somebody's going to get hurt, and that's just something I don't want to do. That's why I'm begging the congressmen and everybody else to come up with a bill to stop these kind of problems.
Well, and listen, with Cindy calling, she's a regular, and sometimes you never know where she's going to go. And she's conservative and a strong Donald Trump supporter, which is fine. Mm-hmm. And she's got strong opinions. I would love to have her, and I think she'd be good, participating in one of these meetings. Now, she's bringing up something separate from politics there.
That's okay.
But that goes towards civility. And yes, I mean, what she's pointing out there is just basic neighborly consideration that apparently her neighbor is not concerned with. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, getting together with a neighbor and talking and communicating. But I can't tell you how many people I know that live in some of these neighborhoods where they just don't get along with their neighbors because of something like that.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. Cindy, thanks for that call, because what we find at the workshops is when we do come together and we talk about issues that are more political in nature, a lot of what Cindy's brought out becomes part of the discussion also. And it really leads us to believe that the problems that we're having is that we've kind of forgotten how to communicate effectively with each other. We do a workshop that's called Skills Workshop. It is something every one of us learned in school, something every one of us learned at an organization we go to. We seem to have forgotten how to listen well and how to speak with respect and understanding.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons.
I can tell you one.
Well, go ahead.
Huge reason.
Yes.
You know, people on their cell phones, online, everything. I mean, no one, the interpersonal communication like this and talking, even, how many times have you and I, and we're a little bit older, okay, than some of these young kids now. I've been in restaurants before where I'm sitting there with my wife and we're talking, and I look at a table across from me and there's 4 teenagers, okay, and they're eating, okay, 4 teenagers, I'm sure they're all friends, and all 3 of them not talking, but they're on their phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what on earth? And here, I'm someone who spends time on my phone, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite in that regard. But these are 4 of them together, and I don't know what friend they're texting that's so important, but guess what? 3 of your friends are right there having dinner with you, and all 4 of you are texting? Yeah. That's idiocy, okay?
Yes.
I mean, it just is. I'm going to call it what it is. It's idiocy. How do you not deal with the people in front of you? And so those teens now, and I see it more and more, including my own son, are not the best communicators because of it.
That's right.
They don't know how to talk anymore. Now, they're probably a lot more savvy than I am on the internet, and that's something. That's a skill that's important. But no one communicates verbally like we once did. And that is, there's no debate. That has everything to do with the internet.
You know, that's a huge part of it.
And I'm sure there's more factors, but that's huge, especially among young people.
If we look at it from a person-to-person level, that's huge.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to add that what we see modeled from our leaders, our political leaders, is far from being civil. Yeah. How they address each other, how they ignore each other,
name
how
calling.
I mean, it's pervasive in our society. And that's why, you know, I've learned these skills throughout my life. And yet when I'm sitting and talking to somebody, and if Cindy and I were together talking with one another, I would want to understand the issue and want to be able to sympathize with her and listen and hopefully give her some skills so that she can, sometimes it's the way we approach people, sometimes it's the way we listen or don't listen, but sometimes it's also the way in which we represent ourselves.
Yeah.
We deal with those kinds of things. It doesn't happen at the workshop, it's not immediate, yet when those workshop attendees go home, within a week, I can almost count down. I get 3 or 4 email messages that say, wow, I got to use this at my workplace. It really worked. I'm an educator.
Okay.
I'm a former educator. I believe that, we just need to be retaught things, all of us, and we need to listen to them. And in our workshops, we have a captive audience. We would love to have people who are on the far ends of the political debate, but if they're not ready to come to a Better Angels workshop, we'll wait for them to be ready.
And I'm just guessing, but I'm guessing most of those who are attending, at least right now, are a little bit older of age. Do you get many college students, things like that? And I suppose you would welcome high school students, college, whoever wants to come.
Yeah.
But isn't it an older crowd?
It has been, and Better Angels has been very responsive to this dilemma. In fact, we had a convention in St. Louis in June, and there was a college group that was brought in. They spent the entire time thinking of strategies of rolling this out to college students. Sure. My husband is a moderator for debates. He's approached high school teachers about doing debates in civics classes or American government classes. So we want more young people. We want more people of color. We want people from either side of the fence, whether they feel, very strongly about an issue or whether they're just kind of confused about where they should feel. There's room for everybody, and every voice helps us figure out what the next steps are.
Yeah. Well, do you notice anything just in general about society? I really think it's important what you said about communicating, and that you have a workshop that deals with that's great to remind folks. When's the last time someone really, that you ran into and you started having a conversation, stopped and asked about how things are doing or what you do for your career, or what your life is, or anything, inquired about you? Because I find in general that most of the people I encounter just want to talk about themselves. That's the truth. They're just about themselves. Now, that's not like I want to talk about myself, so please ask me about it. But the other day, a young person actually asked me something with real interest about something I was doing, and my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
Because all they want to do is talk about themselves. People just want to talk about, and I don't get it. All I want to do, that's the last thing I want to talk about. I'm flattered when someone asks, and I'm very impressed with you if you do. But I'd rather learn. I'd much rather talk. But in society these days, no one has that wants to inquire, and all they want to do is talk about themselves.
Well, I was just away visiting. I have a 98-year-old mother, and I spend time with her every 3 months. And I came back, you must have been in my living room. I said to my husband, nobody asked me what I did. Yeah. Now, this is my family. So I would agree 100% with you. I'm retired, and my children say to me all the time, don't you get what retirement is? Yeah. Why are you so busy? You work 5 days a week, or blah, 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 blah. People don't ask about each other. People are in their little
I guess. And I don't get that. As we go to the break, I don't get it. I go to functions sometimes with my wife, and we're there sitting around the table, and I'm trying to ask, and one of the first things I'm going to ask, and I'm an interviewer, and so I'm a reporter, that's what I do, and you're here as a guest, but still, I'd want to ask what your background is, what your husband does. And I sit down, and their husbands, they know where I work. But then immediately, all they do is talk about themselves. I like to think I do an interesting business, so I'd be intrigued if they would actually ask me anything about what I do. I don't care about talking to myself, but all they do is talk about. Think about that yourself. When's the last time you really inquired, or all you do is talk about yourself? If you do, you're a self-centered boob. That's all there is to it. You need to open yourself up to other people, but in society these days, no one inquires about anyone else. Yeah. And for me, all I want to know about is everyone else. I don't want to talk about myself. I want to learn. I don't get people being so self-centered. And boy, it's off the charts. I don't know if it's ego, insecurity, or what, but that's what's in society these days. It's all about me, to heck with everyone else. I'm not interested. And if that's you, eventually you're going to be left behind by all of us who learn about things. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more. Your calls and comments and more about, I think, a great organization, Better Angels, right after this.